Signaling the beginning of a war offensive was my impression from spending time the last few days at the edge of that, the kibbutz Be'eri, which has now become a frontline area. And you literally hear more explosions than you can count. I want to get last comments on what might happen next, what should happen next, what could happen next. General Sharma, I'll start with you.
So, firstly, I think there is a need for creating a buffer to push the mortar fires, the fires that coming close from the borders across to the kibbutz across their own side. At least push that fire away, and that needs to be done in a pronto manner. We can't keep having people being hit. Second issue is that we have to control West Bank. Now, some of the news say there are 54 casualties in the West Bank in the first 1 week after 7th of October. If West Bank breaks up, because there are Hamas people in West Bank also, which are not registered, they are incommunicado, but they exist in West Bank. If it also has another intifada, then the whole region will be in conflagration. So there needs to be a control as what's going to happen into West Bank. 60% of the West Bank territory is controlled by Israel because it is those settlements. So we need to be very cautious on West Bank. There will be great trouble if both. And if Hezbollah also takes off, then the whole area will be in conflagration. We need to retain the control of the operations into Gaza and in a manner which has to be pinpointed to house as it's being carried out. It is not ad lib. There will be more problems if it is taken in a very dramatic way. The anguish can never go away. This event will change the history of the region for times to come. Military historians and social scientists will write about this event of 7th October for decades to find out what happened. But that doesn't mean that the aftermath also gets been studied in the same manner. There has to be some kind of proportionality to come into it. This can't go on like this for too long a time.
Well, you mentioned the protests, and actually, the entire Arab world saw protests. You had Turkey sort of up in arms. You had the Israeli embassy in Amman, Jordan, being stormed, and you've had eruptions of protests in the West Bank, General Sharma, that you were just actually speaking of. Alex, let me bring you in. How does this end according to you? Because obviously Biden is warning against a new occupation of Gaza. Israel has not said that is its intention. Israel has said the intention is to dismantle Hamas. How does this end? And when or where does it end?
Well, that's the thing I really don't know. Really don't know. I know that if Israel embarks on a ground operation, it will be very much blood, sweat, and tears. But as I'm Israeli, I live among my people. There is a unity among all the people of Israel, irrespectively of the backgrounds or political opinions, that we will do war and we will fight. And we know it will claim lives of I don't know how many soldiers. But again, we're not fighting for peace. We're not thinking strategy. They're monsters, ogres, who hold our women and children captured on our territory. And if either they surrender or they will die. Even if, and again, when it's absolute evil that must be eradicated, just as during the Second World War, let's first win and surrender the Nazis, and afterwards let's think about what we do in Gaza. I have no intention to occupy Gaza or to remain in Gaza, but even if that, if it happens, there's no other possibility to, except for magic possibilities that we don't have, to eradicate Hamas without conquering Gaza, and it will be Egypt or other countries who will pay for that, not us.
Okay, Tara, you said that Alex was speaking from rage and emotion. But to his question, how do you dismantle Hamas if you don't go into Gaza? What would you say?
I think he has a point, because you can't, after such an act of terror, you can't possibly an Israeli defense which sits at home and says, okay, let me think about what to do, is going to have the people enraged. Like, it's like what is the Israel Defense Forces for? But then to that, I would say I'm not sure what his win is. Yeah, are you going to eradicate every single Hamas? It's not possible. Because, like you said, if you kill 10 Hamas, you will have 10 more. So, victory in this scenario is unclear. So, ideally, since it's not just the protests that you mentioned, there are protests in Europe, there are protests in India. This thing has gone like a wildfire across, which is precisely what Hamas wants.
Yeah.
The only way to do is just to now freeze and have some international China is Chinese envoys around, ironically, maybe get them to release the hostages and freeze this as of now. It's not an ideal solution, and if Israel can help the people in Gaza to get their, the rations and food they need, that is where your victory lies.
Yeah.
It's very unpleasant to hear, but your victory lies in making sure that those people don't suffer.
So I just want to actually read out a statement from Netanyahu's office after his talks with President Biden, and then I'll give Jonah the last word. It says that Israel, these are the three decisions after these talks. Israel will not allow any humanitarian assistance from its territory to the Gaza Strip as long as our captives are not returned. I'm just reading this out. This is Netanyahu's statement. Israel demands Red Cross visits with our captives and is working to mobilize broad international support for this demand. And in light of President Biden's request, Israel will not prevent humanitarian assistance from Egypt as long as it is food, water, and medicine for the civilian population in the south of the Gaza Strip to which it is evacuating, as long as these supplies do not reach Hamas. Any supplies that reach Hamas will be prevented. Now, here's my question, Jonah. Nothing moves from Israel into Gaza. It can move from Egypt into the southern tip. But if the Israelis believe it's going to Hamas, it will be stopped, i.e., with force. Hamas could be using civilians as human shields. Hamas could be mixed up with the civilian population. What are we looking ahead in the next few days? And what do you hope we're looking ahead at the next few days?
Uh, Well, what I'm expecting in the next few days and the next few weeks is an Israeli ground invasion. And from the U.S. perspective, there are very few voices in the U.S. that are even counseling against this. President Biden is certainly not counseling against it. There are even the voices urging a humanitarian pause are not saying that Israel should not go in with a ground offensive to terminate Hamas. The real question is what happens during that? Is Israel going to follow the rules of war, which is what President Biden has strongly urged that it do? And what happens after that? What is the long-term plan? Are the 2 million people of Gaza going to be dispossessed? Are they going to be forced to permanently live in the south? Will the northern part of Gaza become a de facto no man's zone? These are things that will have to be sorted out after the next few days, after the next few weeks.